Aboard the mighty airship Windswift, 4 valiant captains of the Order of Astari are tasked with hunting down the madmen who would bring back the Dragon Overlords. These are the adventures of the Windswift. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Adventures of the Windswift. Now, the more observant of you will notice that we are only 3 players. The more observant of you, although perhaps maybe not numerical inclined of you, will notice that we're only 3 players. And that's because Freddie, our player from all the way over in the USA, has decided, and rightly so I think, to fold in his cards and hand up his cape of adventuring due to the fact that he had to play at 2 a.m. every Sunday morning. So Freddie, we thank you very much for being part of the Windswift crew and bid you fond gaming and many happy adventures for the future. So moving forward now, of course, I as the GM am placed in that rather tricky situation where the character and the player have both left the scene, and we'll see what happens thereafter. Our 3 players continue their adventures, and so Dice of Destiny has to change. We can't use it. Well, we can still use the D4, and now I can be included. So Dice of Destiny says that number 1 is involved, and number 1 just happens to be me. So, recap of last week's adventure. Our intrepid heroes journeying from Morech Lee in the south of the Dwarvish territories, trying to make their way to Arcbegar in the south of the Dwarvish territories, but on the other side of the bay, have decided to take a shortcut through the forest that straddles the 2 cities, but the forest itself might or might not be inhabited by cannibalistic centaurs who, in actual fact, showed up and challenged the party to a duel to the death. The party accepted and dealt out swift justice to those 4-legged fiends who were suitably defeated. However, in the midst of combat, Grimm was taken prisoner by 2 centaurs who thundered off into the distance into the dark forest, and that is where our party now picks up their adventure. So the 3 of you, the battle is now concluded. The centaurs have all withdrawn in blind panic as you have slain their champions, leaving you rather alone and very, very quiet.
Ha! We are victorious.
Kind of finishing the swipe of the sword against the hide or of the centaur, and kind of sheathing it, kind of turning around. Wait, where is Grimm?
Mutaru jumps down from the big rock that he was standing on and, looks around. I thought he was with you.
The large brown bear, steam coming off its fur, casts its gaze about the clearing and then starts huffing at the air, trying to catch Grimm's scent.
All right, give me a perception check, if you please.
9.
The centaur...
Was that German or English?
Sadly, it was English.
It could be either in this case. No outcome and the number of 9. So, the scent of the forest is simply too overpowering. You can smell little mushrooms desperately trying to push their way up through the leaf-littered floor. The smell of the leaves up above you desperately trying to get sunlight, as well as all of the other bits and pieces that go along with the forest. You have no idea where he's gone. However, your guide has returned to his normal dwarvish form with his high collar of decoration, and he looks at the 3 of you. I'm sorry to say, but I saw him being taken by those beasties. They've possibly got a camp.
What do you mean taken?
Well, he was in a net of some kind. They do this from time to time. Most particularly when they want their meal to be served warm.
Meal? Warm?
We did tell you that we're cannibals.
Did you see where they brought him? Like, why isn't he back yet? Jeez.
Mutaru goes and puts a gentle hand on Blackston, says, "Fear not, friend. These creatures were child's play. I'm sure Grimm, a man of such skill, is perfectly fine. He'll be back in no time once he has rid himself of the net and quaffed the centaur that were besieging him.
But he's not.
They tried the net thing on me as well, and I'm fine.
But
he is not back.
There is a scream that punctuates the pervasive silence of the forest. It is definitely a human scream and sounds like it's in quite a lot of pain.
That way! I run towards the scream.
I pick up Blackston
No, you don't.
He's an armor.
I run. I basically charge, barrel, head down, bum up, 50-foot move as fast as I can in that direction.
All right. So from the druidic bear, you heard a growl, which he intended for it to be that way. Mutaru sort of tries to clap a hand onto Blackston, realizes who it is, and charges off. Blackston, you following suit, I imagine?
Yeah, I'll get my halberd that I kind of stowed away earlier.
Right.
I have a dart.
And then follow as quick as I can, and just I just cuss under my breath.
All right. Mutaru, you're going to arrive first before you soon overtake the bear, and you haven't gone more than maybe 100 yards through the dense trees. Well, the trees are spaced 50 foot apart, but their sheer scale makes it feel as if they're a wall of wood all around you. After about 100 yards, you crest a small rise, which perhaps you weren't necessarily aware of in this very flat forest. And looking down, you can see several structures that have been made and carved into the root system of several of these larger trees. Skins, bone, that kind of thing hang from the tendrils of the roots, creating the shelters and structures. In the middle of this depression, however, there are at least 12 male centaurs, the ones that have fled from the initial battle, as well as several female centaurs that are standing in a circle around a stake, and attached to the stake is Grimm, who is busy cursing in his finest way at the centaurs themselves. One of the centaurs, a particularly large brute, but he must be fairly old, as there's flecks of white fur shot throughout his hide, is standing next to Grimm and is performing some kind of ceremony. You're not entirely sure what he's doing, but in one hand he holds this long curved bone-like dagger. It looks to be a femur of some kind of creature, or a rib perhaps, because it's got this rather curious curve. And in the other he is holding this bag of bloody entrails perhaps, and he stands reciting this prayer.
Mutaru barrels his head down and charges full speed down the actual overlook.
You are at this point quite alone. The bear and Blackston are still a good couple hundred yards behind you.
Mutaru ponders what Roan would want him to do.
Don't even think about it.
In the back!
You hear his voice in your head, arguably made by yourself, of course, not
yes,
necessarily.
Mutaru's heart hurts. Mutaru knows that Mutaru knows the risk of waiting. Mutaru has an idea. I will take my Naginata, my object of, like, the highest symbol of my honor, and Mutaru will hurl it with the intent to try and land it in the center of the circle to try and gain the attention of the tribe.
All right, make your attack. Ranged attack as you
All right.
lob this.
If there was anything as dice gods, They need to be here right now.
I suspect if they were to be kind, they would deny you your attack, but nonetheless.
All right, so that's not too bad. That's 19.
Right.
Now, I don't know how to turn my Naginata into a ranged weapon.
Rather
Usually
poorly.
you don't.
Right?
So with your throw, you manage to get it to sail fairly straight and through the air, and thankfully it does bite into the ground and lands with a satisfying twang as it wobbles backwards and forwards on the old metal part of the blade. The chanting from the old man stops, and all of the centaurs look in your direction. One of them screams out, one of the females screams out in terror, and one of the males raises this horn to his lips, which he then blows on, and then these three short which echoes throughout the forest. Con and Blackston...
That's the gong for the meal is ready.
As the two of you are busy running forward, you hear this blast of this horn sounding out 3 times. You can see Mutaru ahead of you. He's standing looking as if he has just hurled something deeply into the obviously the enemy territory.
I transform back into a human as I go up to meet Mutaru.
All right. Blackston?
Yeah. That's happening.
It's happening. All right. The two of you arrive next to Mutaru. Can everyone please give me an initiative roll?
Yeah. Sure.
They're coming.
Wow. 20.
18.
The one time I don't want to start.
Con, what did you get?
11.
All right. These are my new dice today, so it makes a bit of a thump when I roll it. Anyway. All right, so Blackston, standing at the top of this ridge, you're looking down, you can see this collection of centaurs, as well as this one with this very large bone dagger standing next to Freddie, who's hanging there shouting, "Get me out of this, you fools!"
I'm coming, Grimm!
So just to understand, we basically fought bucks earlier, like the younger, kind of newly come to age kind of people. But we supposedly fought the elite of those.
Correct.
Compared to the, you said 12, like warrior type.
Yes.
Compared to them, how much more menacing did they look towards them? Because I'm not running into 12 people just willy-nilly when we...
Yes.
Well,
so the young bucks all had those ceremonial clubs that they used
Maces, yeah.
against you, and then a spear each. You can see that of the 12, 6 of them are part of that young group. The other 6 are more seasoned warriors who obviously sent them off on that journey in the first place, and they are armed with 3 spears each, which have strapped to their back, and then they have a shield in one arm, on one arm.
yeah, they're better equipped. I guess.
Much better equipped, yes. Also, it is in comparison to a young horse versus a draft horse. These are much heavier set as well.
Right. So then the other question would be the entire camp of them is like an indentation. That's what you said. Like we are.
Yes.
Is there like are there trees where they are, or is this a clearing?
There's a ring of trees around the hollow, and they're at the bottom of the hollow, and that distance between you and them is about 55 feet.
We are 55 feet from these centaurs away. Okay.
Correct.
And there are children and women too. And are there any hovels where they live? Like, I don't know. I mean, they don't build like a stable for themselves. I don't know.
Built into the roots of the trees that have been exposed because of this depression, you can see that they have created living spaces. There's skins of animals that have been stretched between the different roots to create walls or barriers.
Like ceiling over, yeah. Okay. Not much to work with. All right. 55 feet, huh?
You can see a very prominent and large Naginata in the middle of this depression, in front of the older, larger centaur who is standing next to Freddie. Grimm.
All right. And the only thing mechanically that I will do is like I will ready an action to attack the first asshole that comes to me. And then as the talkative thing, I would say like, we had a deal. We had a contest.
All right.
We won.
Mutaru?
How far away is the old man from where I'm at?
He's about 75 feet.
I'm gonna put my hand on Mataru's shoulder and say, wait. Let them come to us. I have something planned.
I will delay until after con. I will outrightly delay my initiative until after con.
All right. Con?
I cast Entangle in the area sort of directly in front of us.
All right, so the...
In terms of whichever path the onrushing attack will take.
All right. So the little hill that drops down, the slope that drops down to the base, is now covered with weeds and roots that are moving very slowly, feeling out for anything that they might ensnare and slow down. The leader of this group, who's holding the bone weapon, he slices the dagger down and towards Grimm and punctures him in the side, causing him to cry out in pain. Then,
Can I? Oh, okay. Never mind.
then with the bloodied bag, he takes that and smashes that against Grimm's chest, causing the bag to explode. The result is this very red proliferation of colour all over Grimm's chest and face and legs.
No!
So it basically covers him in this ichor
Yes.
from these rotting...
Correct. Correct.
Good.
Then the 12 warriors break away from the circle and start thundering up the hill towards the three of you. As they're doing so, they're busy drawing spears from the quiver that they have on their backs. The moment they hit that entanglement, though, it's a strength resist, isn't it?
Yes.
The first one comes to a dead halt. The second one doesn't bother, he carries on moving through. The third one gets a natural 1 and trips over. So one of them manages to break through your entanglement. The other two come a cropper and as a result cause the rest to slow down behind them as they try and maneuver through this dense and difficult area. Mutaru?
Looking at the one who stabbed Grimm in the side, Mutaru
He hasn't
will
left the podium yet.
What's that?
He hasn't left the podium yet.
Yeah. I'm going to use my Eldritch Blast with the Grasp of Hadar ability.
Right?
Try and wrench him away from Grimm.
Sure, make your attack.
14... 20, not natural.
20, that's not a hit. It as it strikes out towards him, you can see he's got these markings on him. He's got the white hair. As it gets near him, those tattoos or scars that are all over his torso suddenly flare up, and there's this magical barrier that it slams into and dissipates over.
Okay.
So from seeing this, would we say this is like the altar protecting him, or is this just him being magically kind of enhanced?
It looks more like he's been enhanced than the altar. The altar just looks like it's a stage.
Okay.
A crude
I could have been right, that's why I asked.
How much? How many of the Centaur are dealing with the entangle at the moment?
At the moment, 4 of them.
4 of them.
2 tripped into it, and then 2 kind of got stuck behind them. The rest are taking a more circuitous route up and around.
Okay. As a move action, can I draw the bamboo?
Sure.
The bamboo roll,
It's not big.
I say a quiet prayer to Rowan, begging him to not let the army that stands before him decide what fate befalls the crew of the Windswift, and to
I
give me the
would
strength that I
caution you to do a religion check.
need. Oh, okay. Religion. Yes, I have that. Oh, okay, that's not bad. 19.
All right. Rowan is not about interfering with one's destiny. Rowan's about fighting against one's destiny. So your prayer asking him to sidestep would be...
Oh, sorry.
dangerous.
Allow me to reiterate. It's more give me the strength to fight against what he thinks is going to happen.
Maybe he will, maybe he won't. All right, Con. You've done your Blackson. You were holding for when they were going to come and attack. One has surged forward and it has moved into your area of attack.
Right, and I'll take the attack. First attack 23, second attack 17.
Both hits.
All right. So as he kind of runs, I have my halberd now, not my sword anymore, since I got it earlier, and I just stick the back into the ground and let him run into it, basically, and he takes 26 points of damage as he kind of skewers himself onto the pointy end.
There is a shout of pain from him. You've cut open a large section of his chest muscle. Blood is pouring out of it as he continues forward. Back to
me.
Yes.
All right. So as he kind of he's still upright, right? That's
Right.
what you said.
Mm.
Okay, pulling it out and kind of just using it as like a pole axe
Sure.
around and trying to hit the neck, I guess, with the long weapon. Now I can go for the face. 15.
No. He bats it aside with his shield.
All right, then the 10 misses too, but that's all the fault because the 8 misses as well.
All right.
That's what it is.
As
Right.
it gets in close, it becomes
So
difficult.
yeah, I basically, now that he's close, I have issues with a long weapon to fight this unwieldy foe. I kind of parry a few attacks from him, but don't manage to get into the offensive yet.
Mutaru?
Mutaru, okay, so what kind of inclination is the slope on?
Probably 20
Like-
degrees or so. Not very steep, but sharp enough to make you have to think about it.
Okay. 12 guys, $6. 12. Okay. The one that Blackson is fighting. I'm going to use my booming blade cantrip. So I'm going to swing Rowan's bamboo stick and smack him as hard as I can across the side of his head while casting the spell.
All right.
Let's see. So that is 6 plus
It's like
8.
these small jockey sticks at the side.
Yeah, 24 damage. Oh, sorry, 24 damage. 24 to hit.
Right.
Yes, 24 damage. How much for a stick?
That'd be a D4.
A D4. Okay.
That's more than I would have given it.
That is 8 points of damage.
And the stick breaks.
That'd be right.
It would be bamboo, right? So like, gonk.
That would be very unfortunate. Con, you see Mutaru is engaging. Blackston is engaged.
So just to get the picture in my head, as I'm standing facing towards the village at the bottom of the hill, directly in front of me, more or less, is the entanglement where there are some entangled centaur, and then on my right, I've got Blackston engaging with centaurs, and there's more centaur, and also Mutaru, and on my left there's more centaurs as well coming around the other side.
Correct. They're busy riding up the hill or the slope to get to the crest, and then they're going to come around and attack you from the left. Correct.
How far away are they?
They are now at least 35 feet away. They're going to get to you at the end of the round.
Okay, and my last question is, mechanically, am I able to cast a cantrip whilst still concentrating on the entangle?
It depends.
Yeah, you can. The only thing you cannot do is like cast another concentration spell. You would then lose concentration, but everything else you can do.
Okay, that works. In which case, I take a few steps forward to close the distance on the centaurs coming up the left flank. Producing flame in my hand as I do, I fling it at the leading one, which is a ranged spell. Attack of 16.
16. As you hurl the magic towards him, he raises up his shield, and your spell blasts against the shield to no effect. All right. So the one that's attacking Blackston is using the spear, which he jabs quite expertly towards you. But your armor class is
18.
all right. Oh, the first was a miss. The second one is a natural 20, so I'll roll again. It's a 2, so it's just normal damage against you. And it jabs the spear downward and catches you just on the shoulder for 8 points of damage.
Ah! Alright. Taking another bruise.
Yes, Con, the one that you threw fire at, now continues his charge with his spear down, acting now as a lance.
Oh, shit.
How about an armor class of 19? Is that
yeah,
that's gonna hit
yeah.
you, right?
I need to get me some protection magic.
He slams into you. Wow. Okay, he slams into you. Would you please give me a strength check?
Hey, my forte, of course. One
As a
moment.
druid, yes, naturally.
Well, could be worse. 18.
18, all right. You take 21 points of damage as he slams into you with the spear. Because he's charging and he's holding it as a lance, it's like a wall just, spears you through the chest. You have the strength to manage to hold your ground as he thunders past, leaving his spear still sticking out of your upper shoulder.
Attack him! At least give him the stick.
So at this point, Connor's thinking very realistically that he's probably going to die today. Because that was like, I had 32 hit points, and you just took 20. How many?
21.
Okay. That hurt a lot. I'm amazed Connor's still standing. Did he take his spear with him, or have I still got that?
It's been left sticking out of your shoulder.
Awesome.
This
How long is
it? It's 6 foot long, so it's this large, heavy pole that's a little bit unwieldy to have it sticking out of you.
I'm gonna guess that's gonna seriously interfere with concentrating on entangle.
Yes.
Oh, you need to make a concentration check.
Yes, correct.
But it's still DC 10, so you're
What's
fine.
it? Constitution.
Yeah,
but-
Constitution save, DC is 10.
Correct.
Oh, another one of my strong ones. 14.
That's fine. Somehow, even though you get slammed in the shoulder with the spear, you manage to maintain your concentration on the entangle.
Okay, that doesn't work.
That doesn't help. Michael, there's one that's near you. He throws his spear at you. An armor class of 18.
That'll hit.
This new set of dice does not like players, evidently. You take 12 points of damage as the spear simply slices underneath your arm as you're raising it to hit, and cuts quite deeply into your rib. That brings us back to the top of the round, Blackson.
All right. So we ran here. There was where we rested, or tried to rest at least. There was this glade, basically, right? Like a spring or whatever. While we went running through the forest, getting here, or just right now taking a look around, what does this kind of environment say? Is it just like flat woodland and nothing else, with like wide space trees? Is it still very moist, the ground, or are there like, is it, I don't know what time of year it is, so there might be like other trees shedding their leaves.
It's mid-spring, heading towards summer, I believe, but the ground around this depression is a little bit more uneven than where you were 100 yards down the line. That area was very, very flat. The trees here are still interspersed by 40, 50, 60 foot, depending where you are. But generally speaking, this is broad open terrain that the Centaurs can take total advantage of.
Great. Okay. How realistic is it for me to be able to climb a tree? Because I don't think a Centaur will have much luck in that.
You look around, you have to get up the first 20 foot before you get to heavy branches and things. Having said that, though, the trunks are fairly knotted and gnarled, so there's a bit of a hope, perhaps.
And the canopy is intertwined with each other, right?
Absolutely.
These are big trees.
Big, dense trees, yes.
All right, I'm going up the tree, man. I just look into this, like, this is not looking good. Like, I'm wounded from before. Con is just leaning against like a a pole. This is not going good. So what I will do is I kind of try to do a flourish against the one that's standing next to me, kind of look around, see for the next big tree trunk that is, like 20 feet away from me or whatever it is.
Right.
And I just charge at it, and I will use my halberd just like and smash it into the bark of the tree to get like a first step or whatever, right? Where you can kind of pull yourself the first, I don't know, like 2.5 meters up.
All right.
Right.
Give me a strength check with that smash.
Athletics or strength?
Strength to impale the weapon.
16.
16. Well, you seem to get it in nice and tight into the tree.
I hate to remind you, but I will provoke from the centaur that is next to me.
Yeah, I'll handle that as you're climbing upwards. All right, and then give me an athletics or an acrobatics check to climb up. Either you haul yourself up or you scrabble your way up.
Natural 1.
A natural 1.
Oh.
All right, this is going really well.
I mean, some people need to throw their weapons away before we even know.
The attack of opportunity that the centaur had on your back, unfortunately, has hit, rolling a natural 18 for 5, 6, 7 points of damage.
Yeah, I'm heavily bleeding at this point.
As you fail to find purchase amongst the trunk.
As another way out, I kind of just look at Con and say, like, come! And I just lean with my back against the bark and kind of try to give him a step up.
Does that one take damage from my booming blade when he goes for Blackston?
He doesn't necessarily need to move, he just hits me when I run away, right?
Well, yeah,
he
that's
has
what I'm asking.
a spear as well, yeah. All right, so that brings us to you, Mutaru.
Okay, couple of things. First of all, what logistically is the effect if I were to, say, pull that lance out of Con?
Nothing from a mechanical perspective, just severe pain for Con.
Okay. Mutaru will do so, grabbing hold of it and sort of, let me get that for you.
You wrench the weapon free from Con.
Taking.
Birds take flight from distant trees as Con's cry grows through into ultrasonic range.
So we stop hearing it.
Some dogs sort of look up and like.
Yeah.
Okay. Mutaru looks to Con and says, "You and Blackston need to get out of here."
We all
Take the
need to
air.
get out of here. This is Fubar.
There's a look in Mutaru's eye. Yes, we'll all get out of here. I promise you.
You do see Blackston standing at the base of the tree, offering to give you a leg up.
No. We just need to leave. We need to withdraw. We've lost this fight.
You want to outrun
see.
horses?
I can outrun a horse, but apparently someone doesn't like piggybacked. So
I don't think you can outrun a horse.
I can for a short distance.
All right. What you doing, Mutaru? You pull the spear out.
Yep. I am going to, with any luck, split their attention by using the spear to pole vault over the entangle towards the village.
Into the
and my
pit.
nugget. The pit's a 20 degree incline, right?
Right.
Yeah. But over the entangle.
All right. Give me an acrobatics check, if you please.
Could I possibly use athletics, oh gracious and merciful DM?
Sadly, this is your landing that's the problem, not your vaulting. So it's.
But pole vault's an Olympic sport, athleticisms.
No.
Dang it.
It's all about
I'm not
how
bad
you
at
land.
acrobatics, I'm just better at...
And you have hooves.
Okay, 15.
All right. So you vault the area. You drop down into the pit, 20 foot, and land fairly balanced.
Okay. My next goal is to charge for the Naginata and, basically assess what the big old dude does from that point.
All right. Con?
I guess at this point I'm with Blackston.
You're going to try and climb up?
Well, before we do that, I drop the entangle
All right.
and cast fog cloud around Blackston and I.
Smoke bomb!
Essentially.
All right. This mystical fog starts to sweep in underneath the tree.
And as it does
vision.
so, I lean into Blackston and go, "We must get out of here!"
Agreed. I'm already... I was 5 feet ahead of you.
Are you going to try and climb up the tree now?
Where's that blasted chunk gun?
I mean, can't help him, whatever he does.
Are you going to try and climb up the tree, Con?
Okay. Muttering about not sure this is a good idea, but
I mean, you
got any
don't
better
need
ones
to run
other
up
than
the
running
tree if you
away?
don't want to.
You
I just don't think we will outrun horses. Like, that's not happening. On foot, at least.
10.
10. All right, because...
Does he have advantage because he can get, like, my letter?
Well, you're there and you've got a nice handhold in the form of a halberd impaled in the tree, so 10 is more than sufficient to get you up the first 10 foot, and then it's an easy reach to the lower branches and you can start to haul yourself up into the tree. The branches are spectacularly thick. These lower ones are at least 5 foot in diameter, so there's more than enough room to stand here almost comfortably and look down at the carnage that's happening below. Not that you can see it because your obscuring mist is, obscuring. Back to the Centaurs, there's confusion, there's chaos. They have seen
At least they can't see
Mutaru
me.
land in the middle of their circle, threatening their wise one. He takes the dagger that he's holding and waves it at you, Mutaru, shouting something. You're not entirely sure what he's saying, but he then
Welcome
takes...
to the banquet.
Yeah. He then takes his hand, which he then places on Grimm's head, and slowly with his fingers draws a line with that red ichor across Freddie Grimm's face. The hunters now start to move back down towards where you are standing, forming a fairly neat circle around you, all of their spears drawn and ready to throw. Back to top of the round. Blackston, you hauling yourself up?
I mean, I don't see what's happening because I'm in the fog cloud. So yeah, I would. No, I was just thinking if I would do it, but I don't see it. I just maybe hear it a little bit, but I mean, that's so... Yeah, so I would then just like
Climb up.
and then maybe with help from Con giving me a hand to...
Yeah, the fog cloud's only like a 20 foot radius.
Yeah, but I'm in the middle of it, so I wouldn't be able to see outside until I start climbing, right? So,
Correct.
It shouldn't be too far to go.
So yeah, what do you want to check from me?
Athletics or acrobatics, one of the two to get your way
18.
up. No, more than enough. You climb up and join Con on the lower branches. From here,
Did I take my action?
to climb, it's just a movement.
All right. So looking at Con, he looks really bad off. Looking at me, I look even worse off. I actually have little less hit points than you, so I will just like do this and heal myself a little bit. Sorry, mate, but can't help you if I'm dead. And I just look at him and say like, there's something more we can do. But what happened? Where's? God, this idiot!
You know, he was there moments
And I
ago.
feel like a very.
But I just rather suspect he's done something, Mutaru.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, I have one more ace up my sleeve, but I can't help him if he just jumps in the middle of all of them. So yeah, I kind of take a second to kind of, and then kind of look around what's going up. That's my turn.
All right. Mutaru?
So just to clarify, so the hunter centaurs have moved away from Blackston and Con and have circled around me.
Correct.
All right. Okay, in a very big and loud voice, I'm going to attempt an intimidation check after gaining my my Naginata once more. I'm not taking on a threatening stance towards the wise one. It's almost like I'm addressing the rest of the village almost at this point. Mutaru says, God, I got to improv this. Let me try this. Hear me, people of the Centaur. I am Mutaru, and all of you stand before me with my friend held captive for your terrifying ritual. But more terrifying than that is the wrath of the great and powerful Chung, known as the Jade Dragon. You have one chance. Release him and stand your men down, or I will unleash the fury of 10,000 Chung upon you. And I use my telepathy to present the outward image, similar to the one I did when I was performing for the Dalahag, of the big dragon sort of stretching forth from my hair as I swing the my Naginata down and slam it into the ground. In hopes I'll maybe buy a second. And secretly I'm also trying to let the others know that all of the Centaur are here and not where you guys are.
All right. Give me your intimidation check.
All right, that's not bad. It's 23.
All right. They look at you, and for a moment their will seems to waver, but then they realize that there are 23 of them and one of you.
Dang.
The leader then steps forward. He's holding that dagger, looks at you and says, "You are not. That's all he says, and then he spins with that dagger and plunges it straight through the sternum of Grimm, directly into him. Grimm calls out in pain, and as the centaur leader pulls the blade out, something very, very, very odd happens. There is a purple tendril of smoke which bursts out of the hole where there should be blood or entrails. That purple smoke coalesces into this writhing mass of tentacles, which slowly starts to push out of Grimm's chest. He looks down. "Well, that's unfortunate," he says, as they burst out of his chest. At the center, there's this beak-like mouth, which starts to snap around at various things. And there's this very subtle voice, which can be heard from, even from where Blackston and Con are, which simply states, "He is ours." At which point those tentacles then completely consume what's left of Grimm and start to spill out onto the stage. The centaurs are absolutely terrified and start breaking off in all different directions. The leader is left on the stage holding his bone dagger and this now defunct sack, and the rest of them are all just fleeing off in different directions. Blackston, what are you doing? You can see this from your vantage point.
I just look at Con and like, eh? Like, I mean, like, what?
Yeah, I think there's a moment of speechless silence as we both stare from our tree.
In horror.
Like, what have we just seen?
Mutaru?
Knowledge religion?
Yeah, sure.
This shit?
Yeah, knowledge religion.
I don't know, my wits have fled. Maybe not right now.
I mean, I have like an idea what happened, I guess.
Well, that would be a 20.
A 20? All right.
For me, it's an 18, but...
Well, both of you recall that there have been in the past sociopaths and psychopaths of religious denominations that have made pacts with demons, devils, and spirits from the demonic planes, the lesser planes, and that kind of thing. And generally speaking, things don't end very well for them. Usually they get consumed by the creatures that they are trying to subdue and oppress to draw power from. If someone were inexperienced and had perhaps called upon these deities, it's entirely possible that they now try and reclaim the soul that had made this pact with them.
Or that was promised. Mm-hmm.
Or that was promised, correct. They are not ones who care about the trials and tribulations of mortals. For them, the soul is the seed that they are after.
Yeah, okay. So basically pact with the devil and he's collecting his due.
Perhaps that's what's happening here. You doubt that the rib had anything to do with it. The reaction that the centaur leader is expressing, one of terror and horror, would indicate that this is not what normally happens. Mutaru?
Oh, so I was thinking that the centaur leader was trying maybe to help Grimm, like he knew something that we didn't. But that's not the case if he looks like kind of completely terrified, or does it look like...
No, he looks absolutely terrified. He has never stabbed a piece of beef before and had it turn into giant purple tentacles.
Right. Okay, good. My misreading on that. I was like about to have a moment with the centaur and be like, "Hey, you guys aren't that bad." But no, now go to hell. You know, you suck. You suck. I hope this thing eats you, whatever it is. Mutaru panics. I mean, this is probably the first time Mutaru, even in the face of all the near-death and actual death experiences he has had in his life, this is the only time Mutaru has ever felt true dread for something more than his life. He like watching the purple tentacles consume Grimm's form with nothing left behind. Mutaru turns and books like he has never done before, and he doesn't even care which direction the furthest from whatever the hell this thing is.
Right.
Yeah, that's where Mutaru's going. Like,
away.
He's gonna pop. We better go get him.
All right, so Mutaru heads off in a random direction,
Mutaru!
which is that direction, and that leaves the two of you in the tree as the clearing is now completely vacated of centaurs and chung alike. This tentacled creature writhes for a while, struggling, but you can also see that the tips of the tentacles, as they reach too far, start to break up into smoke, which again speaks to these creatures not being able to exist too much in this plane. But the chief, the centaur chief, he has backed away as far as he can. One of these tentacles wraps around his foreleg and starts pulling him towards the center of its mass. But already you can see that it's starting to slip back into whatever hole or dimensional space it's come from.
Blackston, it's time to leave. There's a slight edge of "oh my fucking god" in my voice, isn't it? You know, I'm holding it together barely. We must go right now. We got to get the cow and go now. Let's go far away from that thing as possible. Blackston.
he took a vow to smite evil.
Yeah, that's the issue. Like, I'm helping you down, but I'm going towards Grimm.
Oh my god, what is wrong with these people?
Do I happen to pass Blackston on the way through?
No, the direction that you ran in, I'm afraid, does not take you past Blackston.
Okay.
It's you've headed out northwest. You fellows came in from the south,
I turn into a tiger once more in the attempt to run him down.
All right.
Since he's not listening, because I'm shouting after him.
Meow, 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 meow.
Yes. As you turn into a tiger, your words suddenly transform into these growls.
So basically, there's like a cow running away to like a tiger.
It is quite the zoo that's going on down there.
All right. So what I will do is I will pull the pole out of the bark, and then gingerly and not sure of him. I know I must do this, but I'm not enthused about the situation. I wanted to go just a second ago, but I can't. So what I will do, like I gingerly move forward, and once I am at the bottom of the indentation, yeah, I just like for the first time I get the helmet out of the backpack and kind of just like turn it around and just look at it and look at the eye slits. You said like it's Corinthian, but like the eye holes. Kind of look at it and just like say, all right, and then kind of turn it around, and then otherwise it would be very non-functional. Like, and I go forward and I say like, Grimm, what have you done?
All right. So as you slam the helmet on, your vision changes, and the spectre in front of you is quite different. Mutaru, you are busy running as fast as you possibly can. The centaurs have legged it beyond and further than even you've managed to get to, but you do hear the strange growling of a cat, a very large cat coming from the center of the pit. It sounds like it's a house cat that's really unhappy with life right now.
Con.
Yes, you would take a stab in the dark that it's Con, because there's not that many tigers in this particular forest. So that's what you're hearing behind you.
For some reason, my head just instantly played as you said that. You know, like you take a random stab in the dark, which is incidentally what you get. Yeah.
Yeah. No one is stopping. They are fleeing for life.
Yep. Mutaru looks back. I'm just gonna roll for my own. Mutaru will gird his loins, cow pun, and he will make his way back to the precipice of the pit.
All right, so that's what you're going to start doing.
To sort of onlook
what's happening. Con, you're loping after Blackston. Blackston, as you put that helmet on.
Wasn't he going after Michael? Sorry, after Mutaro? That's what I understood.
Yes, Con is busy running.
Yeah.
Correct. He's running to catch up with you. What are your plans, Con, when you actually do catch up with Blackston? Because Blackston has now just put this helmet on and is about to start moving forward.
I was after Mitaru.
Yeah.
Because I thought he'd panicked, so I was going to stop him from disappearing into the woods.
He's going after the cow, not after me.
Oh, are you going after Mitaru? Oh, I do apologise.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you were going after Blackston. Oh, I see. All right, so yes, so then you've bound around the indentation, and as you've got to a certain point, you see Mutaru maybe 40 or 50 feet away, stopping, kind of pulling himself towards himself, and then starting to move back with purpose towards you.
Well, that's a relief. I think I'm Tiger Brain. I roar in his direction and sort of shake my head in the direction of Blackston and the dark mass, and then start going towards them.
All right. So, Blackston, as this helmet clouds your vision, the tentacles that you could see sticking out where Grimm was were maybe 4 or 5 foot in length. Grimm's form, his kneecaps
kind of slumped down,
legs had sort of burst apart as these tentacles had burst out.
Oh, nice. Okay.
With the helmet on, you can now see that the tentacles seem to stretch backwards and higher up into this magnificently colossal creature. It is easily 130 foot in height and 100 foot in diameter, and it's just this writhing mass of tentacles that are loping and slopping over one another, careening in this chaotic kind of dance. It's definitely not in the same world that you're in. Your vision of the world is fine.
Transcends,
you're
basically.
Seeing into this other space where you can see this creature. It's trying, and it looks as if some of those tentacles are trying to pull the space wider and more open.
Okay, so it tries to portal itself through, basically.
Correct.
All right, so what I will do, I will drop the halberd, I will get the sword, drop the sword, I will grab to my neck my amulet where my holy symbol is, and I will channel the fucking divinity out of the symbol as I kind of move at it with almost like a cross when you go through a vampire, which like in the old movies, right? And I'll try to kind of basically turn this thing, and what I want to do in the end, if I get to it or die before, I don't know if this is Cthulhu or whatever, which would certainly help, try to basically to go through this portal that I now perceive better, and basically try to seal it with the divine power that is imbued, hopefully, in me. Maybe not. At least that's that's what I do.
All right, so you're using Channel Divinity?
Yeah. I mean, that's technically not mechanically what I can do, but role-playing wise, that's what I would try to do.
I like it. So you call upon the power of Brax, and
yes.
As you hold the symbol up, your vision reveals what's happening, and you can see streaming into that holy symbol these shafts of light. They're very bright blue light beams that are almost being sucked into your holy symbol, and then this direct lance of energy shooting straight into the mass of tentacles. And as it strikes them, fortunately for you, the creature rolled a natural 1, so those tentacles immediately erupt into flame, and great big clumps of black goo start splattering all over the floor around you as you walk forward holding your symbol, repeating the prayers of Brax. Mutaro Kon, you see Blackston steadily walking towards this writhing mass of tentacles, but the tentacles are starting to explode around him as he heads deeper and deeper towards the center of them.
We have to
Take a
help him.
moment.
No time, Con.
Cool.
No. No, I don't do that. That's so mean.
I go padding up. I actually go up to Blackston, so I'm like behind him, sort of like if anything untoward were to happen, I'm right there. But I'm also trying to gauge whether or not he actually needs my help,
All right.
or if his radiant godly powers is doing the trick here, and he just needs his back watched.
Mutaro?
Yeah. Just like an asshole orc in the back shoots me, just like, oh, lose concentration, and then everything goes awry.
Yeah, I got your back.
Yeah. Likewise, I will do the same. I'll sort of walk up and behind Blackston on the other side where Con is. I will be holding the bamboo shoot, and basically, again, in the similar vein, seeing how Blackston's holy energy is doing against the creature. If it looks like he needs, any help or whatever, I will say incantation prayers to Rowan and try to use my eldritch energy through
All right.
the bamboo.
It is quite an impressive sight, this paladin surging forward, beaming energy directly into this writhing mass of tentacles, flanked by this large tiger, and then a giant chung with headdress and all of the majesty that goes with his costume. Moving forward, Blackston, you see this the energy in the holy symbol almost reach a peak point where it's just completely glowing blue, and that final discharge slams into the tentacles, causing what's left of the tentacles to explode out in bits of calamari in all different directions. But the center mass, the beak itself, explodes, and the rift seals shut, and that giant creature that was behind it, you suddenly can't see it anymore in your vision. The two of you on either side of him see those tentacles exploding and boiling and ripping apart underneath this powerful demonstration of Brax. But once the final mass has landed on the floor, it lies there bubbling and oozing black fluid, and the smell is of the most disgusting burnt fish you can possibly imagine.
And with that, Blackston would just go on one knee and fall over and fall unconscious.
Con will turn back into a human and grab him before he's completely sprawled out, and
Right.
channel a cure wounds into him.
Nice. Mutaru?
Mutaru will go and inspect the pyre where Grimm's body was when all of this went down.
All right. How much healing does he get, Con?
It's 9.
I mean, mechanically, I didn't die, right? I mean, this is...
Yeah, when he's bleeding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I can take a few more of those. But...
I'm bleeding too. I'm next. Don't worry.
There's a
Oh,
cue.
good. Oh, good.
Mutaru trying to stand strong secretly. There goes his liver.
Right.
Good thing I have a second.
But Chung, we have like 8 livers.
That's stomachs, not livers.
Oh, God damn.
In fact, if we're at that point, I'll just do that now. Yeah.
Alright.
Give myself
So
some more.
you look at where Grimm used to be, and there's bits of human flesh, chunks of red meat here and there, but in the main, it looks as if that meat has been ripped apart rather than torn or cut. The muscles have been torn to fibre threads as whatever it was consumed him. However, lying in the mass or mess, there is a rather curious book. It's not very large, about that big, and it seems to be completely untouched by any of the slime or ichor. It looks to be in pretty good condition, as a matter of fact.
Mutaru will take the book and put
Give
it...
me a wisdom saving throw, please.
Oh, uh-oh. Wow, that was somewhat unwise. Well,
Yes.
that would be a 4, my friend.
All right.
I've been waiting for that one. I've been rolling over 15 for every roll today, and I was like, God damn it, it's gonna get me.
As you touch the book, you hear a whispering saying, "We can help you." You are weak, but we can make you strong.
Mutaru retrieves the book. Sort of looks at the back, looks at the front.
Fairly plain leather with brass bindings.
Eldritch Blast.
Into the book.
Yep. As much of my energy as I can muster, just trying to force it, and at the same time, basically try to rip it apart.
Wow. All right. Do your damage. You discharge your energy into this book.
That is
What is he doing?
10 points of damage from the Eldritch Blast. And then what? A strength check?
No. Because the magic itself does the majority of damage.
Yeah. Yep.
You fire energy into the book, and for a moment, the book looks as if it's not going to take any damage whatsoever. But as you ripping it open, your energy, your magic steals around the back of it into the spine, and only you, Blackson and Con, you don't hear this. Only you hear this very faint scream as the spine of the book is ripped apart. And once that happens, the pages just vaporize under the blast of your magic, leaving basically just this leather cover which starts to blacken and crinkle like old skin.
What was that, Mutaru?
Mutaru drops the leather to the ground, the books. He kind of looks like, he's torn apart the book. He falls to his knees and just begins to cry.
There, Mutaru.
And by the way, for those of you in the audience, I'm not going to do it. I'm not quite that brave yet. But the Chung do not cry in a pretty way or a romantic way.
There are big nostrils that just gush.
Gush in tears and...
Can you method act that out, please?
No, actually, no. Like I said, I'm not quite that brave yet.
Maybe hesitantly walk up to him and sort of pat him on the shoulder. There, Mutaru.
That's all you're getting.
It looks like, he was meddling in bad things. It's nothing we could have done, ultimately, Mutaru. These things happen. There.
Mutaru's somewhat...
I think I tried the wrong troop.
No, Mutaru sort of takes a few moments before Con's words sort of seep in. He's sort of like, he takes one of his very, very long tabard robe silks and sort of...
Wow. What a lot of mucus you produce.
It is good to cry.
Yes, I'm sure we will all find time to grieve our own way at some point, but we really should be getting out of here now.
We shouldn't leave him like this. Not for those centaurs.
I produce flame, and steadily in as many flames as it takes to turn what's left of Grimm into a smoking fire.
So you're cooking in for them. That's what you're saying.
Render him to ash.
Render him to ash.
Did
Well
Grimm
done.
have any amulet or trinket or bracelet or ring?
Currently on him, the only thing that remains once the flames have started to vaporize everything to ash, which does take quite some time, there is the hilt of a dagger, a rather ornate hilt made out of silver that lies in the ground. Aside from that, nothing else seems to be present.
I'll take the dagger hilt.
All right. The forest, after the crackling, hissing, burning smell of bacon subsides, is quiet.
Where's the guide?
Didn't come with us, I think.
All right then.
With any luck, he is far away from this place.
As should we be. Let's get out of here.
Yes, Blackson is still collapsed on the deck.
Oh, I'll pick him up. I'll carry him, and I look at Con and I say, "Just don't tell him."
Tell him what?
Exactly. And I'll carry him out.
All right, you start to make your way out of the pit. Your guide is nowhere to be seen. As a matter of fact, in several hours' time, he will be sitting in Morechli going, "And then do you know what they did? They charged into the nest of Centaurs. Well, I'm sorry, but I was not paid nearly enough to go in with them." And all of his companions sitting around him are sitting there going, Aye, but you see, that's the foreign folk. They're all crazy. All crazy. We don't need none of their folk around these parts. Well, indeed, after charging into the Centaurs' pit, I don't think we're going to see any parts except those worn by the Centaurs around their necks. And there's a general laughter amongst the dwarves, and then they realise and remember that they're in mourning, and stop laughing and go back to drinking their beer seriously. Back to the three of you, though, in the forest. Where are you going?
We frolic towards Arcbegar.
Yes, I guess a survival check? Or
Absolutely.
whatever.
You need to start navigating your way through this forest.
I mean, just I don't know if they kind of figured this out, but I assume like as a druid, at least, and also as like a survivor. But there was a clearing we were at, and we know the direction we want to head. Just so like by the it's evening, so the sun is there, so we need to go this way roughly. Right? Shouldn't
16.
be too bad.
All right. Yes, Mutaru?
Oh, while I remember, I will also take off the helmet that Blackston's wearing, because obviously I feel like it would restrict his breathing while he's unconscious. And
Right,
put it in his possessions and just
Gotcha.
Ha!
crumple.
Like on board a horn.
Hey,
Like,
So, yes,
now you know how I
After-
felt when you took my Naginata, you bastard.
and you threw it away today yourself.
exactly. After a
It's
few
symbolic.
false starts, Con, you manage to get your bearings and realise that you now need to head directly south from your present position. And hopefully, with any luck, you'll be there by tomorrow afternoon. You manage to get in a night's sleep. The Centaurs are all spooked. They're not going anywhere this evening. They've lost their great leader as well. He was finally consumed by those tentacles just before they all exploded. So the night is
Great
spent...
leader.
their great leader. The Graith are currently doing other things, as a matter of fact. As a matter of fact, I do need you to do something now that you're all in the quiet calm of your encampment. I need someone to please roll a d20 for Lieutenant Jasani.
I guess the one who gives the orders can make it, Michael.
Any one of you, doesn't
Oh, do
matter.
you want me to? Okay, hang on.
Sure. I mean, you're the one who usually shouts out the orders, right? So maybe
That's
you do
right.
it.
All right. Do I add anything to that, or
No,
is it
just roll a d20.
14?
14. All right. That's not bad. In which case, could Simon or Jono roll another d20, please?
Okay.
I'm unconscious. I can't roll the dice.
It's happening again. 14.
14,
Oh, wow.
14. That's
Come on, Simon. 14. Another
All
14.
right, let me try. Actually, you'll use a real dice for this. 11.
11.
Oh,
Right.
Oh well.
So, as the three of you taking turns to watch, I suppose, for any
Yeah, so when I wake
Centaur-
up, like, and I don't have the thing on me, I'm like, what happened?
Well, you defeated the big nasty thing that was trying to rip a hole through into our universe.
Giant, black, evil death calamari.
That, yes.
Monster manual entry. That's exactly what I'm putting down right now. Monster manual. Giant.
Looks like whatever dark powers Grimm was messing with.
I didn't defeat it.
Well, it kind of looked like you did from where I was standing.
We were standing pretty close.
Faith held it off from coming. We didn't see all of it.
Yeah, have some
Where's
water.
Oh, it's in your backpack.
And did you also get my sword and my helmet, I assume?
Yep, I got all your stuff. Don't you worry.
And I check if I have like a drawn-on mustache or something.
I managed to stop Mataru from drawing on your face, don't worry.
I tried many times.
Magic hand. I should have learned magic hand. All right, so yeah, then kind of taking a breather. Like, I was pretty hurt. I guess everybody was. So I guess, and since we didn't get our long rest really, like last time, try again. Is that what
Yeah.
we're doing?
That's what you're doing.
Let us rest for the evening.
Correct.
We sleep through the night, hopefully.
You all have dreams of the Windswift, and at one point you are absolutely adamant that you are on board the Windswift and you are fighting off what look to be Mutaru's brothers. It's a weird dream of fighting off Mutaru's brothers, then you're playing with your dog from your childhood. There's visions of gnomes throwing fire at one another and they dance through the sky. And it's a general nightmare of visions and images and things. And when you wake in the morning, although you're relieved to still be alive, there is that lingering sense that you've been through another battle on board the Windswift.
Is this shared between
All
us?
three of you have a very similar experience, although in Mutaru's case, it's as if you were ordered by Rowan himself to attack humans and gnomes and elves and to try and slaughter them all. But every time you get one on the ground, and primarily it's Lieutenant Jasani that you keep throwing onto the ground, and you're about to stab her with a naginata, and suddenly she turns into a green dragon, and then you're falling through the air, and then there's this dog barking at you, and then back to beating up Lieutenant Jasani, and then it's just this chaos. But all three of you have this distinct dream of the Windswift being under attack.
Much we can do about it.
No, it's just a dream.
Sure.
I wouldn't call my last night's sleep restful. I had unsettling dreams.
You too? Must be this forest, and well, yesterday. Hardly the most conducive to peaceful sleep.
With what happened to Grimm, I wouldn't rule out that he was a traitor, making deals with these kinds of creatures. Do you think there might be others on board? We entertained the idea before, but I didn't think that one of us.
What was that thing that book you destroyed yesterday, Mataru? What was that?
It was on Grimm's person, some sort of leather-bound arcane book of some variety. As soon as I picked it up, I knew something was wrong. It didn't suffer any of the damage, burnt or otherwise, that Grimm had. And when I laid hands on it, I heard a voice. It tried to tempt me, whispering desire into my ear.
It's as I expected.
At that moment, I knew there was only one thing to be done, and if anything, it was something poor Grimm should have probably done.
Well, I'm no Arcbegar, but I think you did the right thing there. I don't know. Based on what we saw yesterday and this book, I think Grimm and what Grimm said to us before he died about this woman and revenge seems very clear that he was following completely his own agenda. I don't think he's connected to this new foe.
Well, there's something you missed when we were at the Gamspire. July, the drow, before she died, when you were knocked out, spoke as she had dealings with Grimm, as they were in cahoots. In the end, he killed her, but after this happening, and I kind of point back in the direction where I assume we came from, because I don't know. I came in like a random direction, like.
Whilst this is going on, I'm sort of packing myself up and getting ready to carry on walking. I assume it's morning now.
Yeah.
In any case, there's something I haven't told you. I was unsure of Grimm, and I think there was a reason for it. The amulet we found, the mage had, wasn't lost. He didn't give it away. But I didn't want Grimm to know that we still have it. We need to destroy it as soon as possible.
We have it?
I don't have it on me. I don't know where it is.
Yes, we have it. I rooted out from the bottom of my medical bag.
Oh, you have it with you? Okay.
I wasn't going to leave it behind.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, I didn't know, but it's good. I approve.
Mutaru looks at Blackston. Obviously, him and Blackston have had a bit of a sordid history around, obviously,
Trust.
this whole thing, and trust. And seeing, obviously, him mentioning that openly, that he had the item, which obviously he could only have had during the trial and all of that sort of stuff. Mutaru walks up to Blackston and says, "You did the right thing."
It wasn't easy.
Honestly, Mutaru, this is the first moment we've had, really, to discuss this. So don't take it personally.
I don't. I just, for myself, I feel foolish. All this time, Grimm was treating with dark forces, and there I was, quite literally barking up the wrong tree. I have...
It's our first mission.
Vigilance is not a feat done lightly.
We're all out of our depth here, Mutaru. Don't beat yourself up.
May I see the amulet?
Well, here it is. The mysterious amulet.
No, it is mine! The rule of the dragon shall now come forth! Okay. What kind of feeling do I get when I hold the amulet?
So the amulet has been kept in a bag. Do you take it out of the bag?
Yeah, no, I haven't taken it out, so I don't think that's a great idea.
I'm
just holding the bag there so that he can see it.
Oh, I'm going to keep it in the cloth, but I'm going to try very gently. Again, I know this has always turned out bad for me.
Mutaru, we're not Arcbegar.
No, I'm not going to touch it. No, I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to wear it. Okay, I'm going to try and reach out mentally to try and see if I can connect.
Am I going to try and
see, just to try and see if I can.
With it, because that seems safe.
Just to see if I can detect a presence within the amulet.
All right. Would you please give me a wisdom
course
saving throw with disadvantage?
Okay.
I will just try.
Oh, my natural 20 became a 16.
All right.
so still not
As
bad.
you
But
reach
I
out-
also get a +2.
You have disadvantage, so
Yeah, that's with
Yeah.
disadvantage. So that's 18 in total.
As you reach out with your thoughts towards the amulet, you are suddenly gripped by this immense power. And there is just one moment that you gather before you are hurled at least 20 foot across the ground. Blackston and Con, this is what you're seeing. As he reaches out, he suddenly stiffens and then is thrown 20 foot across the forest floor.
it's like Timmy in Jurassic Park 1, just like
Yes.
Yeah.
The single impression that you get, Mutaru, as you reach out over this amulet is of this massive scaled head with these sweeping back black horns, turning and opening up eyes which just burn with hellfire and malice. And as it looks at you, it's just too much power and you're thrown across the clearing, completely knocked out.
As he gets flown, like he had this in his hand, he loses the amulet with the bag.
It sails up into the air and lands with a thud onto the...
I immediately throw like a
floor.
bag over the amulet,
Right?
not the
Right.
dead chunk.
Yeah, it was stoop down, scoop it back into its bag, bundle it back into the bottom of my medical bag. Stupid Chung! Told you not to touch it as I go over to check him.
His carelessness will be our undoing at one point.
It's a simple matter to revive him. It was more of a
Smelling
neurological shock than anything else. Mutaru, you come around quite easily.
Ugh.
I wave some smelling salts under his big nostrils, more than he needs.
Oh,
Can you
that's...
Mutaru, I wanted to speak about this before with you, but can you keep your nose out of trouble for once?
Evidently never.
Let's get moving.
Mutaru's actually got a very serious look on his face, and he stops and he says, "This is insane. What we
You
have done."
are insane.
No, everything. The orders, the Histari, the anchor. This is insane. This is sheer madness.
Oh god, it's touched his mind in some way.
This thing isn't even a piece. I have never felt anything like this. This is the stuff that carves the nations and shapes the oceans. This is something beyond the fathom of creatures and man. And we're trying to fight these things?
No, we're trying to keep these things from returning.
We're fighting their servants, Mutaru. Come on, focus. We're fighting
You're-
their servants.
You're right. I apologize, but listen,
What happened to
whatever
you?
this is, whatever this amulet is, it is far too powerful for us to destroy. This needs to get to the Octrellica. After of course we save. Yes, I know. But I mean, if we could destroy it now, we could, but I was not expecting that. I don't think anyone would. But yes, yeah. Well, let's chug on.
Let's get a move on then. No more touching things.
Ow.
For the rest of the day, you
should have been a
continue
cat.
steadily south. The presence in the
bought them a
forest
cat.
seems a lot quieter than it has in the past, and you suspect the centaurs are equally as disturbed as you might be. Once you get to the edge of the great forest, there is a definite sense of relief which you cannot hide. Glorious sunshine streams down from the great big blue sky above you, and stretching out to the south and to, in the far distance, the Drossamar Ocean, is this large green plain, which is only punctuated by the outline of the city of Arcbegar in the near distance.
No rest for the vigilant.
It takes you another hour travelling over this plain. Eventually you find a road which, had you known about, might have been easier to travel on, but the road is fairly well maintained and leads you through cultivated fields of cabbages and potatoes until you arrive at the main gates. Now, the dwarvish architecture is particularly square, except with these strange outcroppings every now and again that mimic the collars that they all wear. The guards approach you cautiously and with the usual dwarvish enthusiasm that you have come to know. Halt!
We have no time to halt. I answer in Dwarvish, right? Bye. That's not bad for once.
What are you doing here?
Did Archon Vestus arrive yet? We are from the Arc Relica, and I kind of ungauntlet myself and show the unlit sign.
You're also from the Arcbegar? How many of you are coming here?
It doesn't matter. Is the Archon here? Did he arrive yet?
No, he's only
Yeah, like
scheduled...
two or 3 days ahead, right, of time schedule?
He's only scheduled to arrive, maybe earliest tomorrow night. But if you're with the Arcbegar, I'll show you where the rest of your people are.
No, I don't. Mutaro, what do you think? We know what this might mean? I don't think we should see the others because we're on special mission, right?
Yes, if we could get some quarters just to ourselves for the time being, and then once we have properly settled, we will meet the others. If, of course, this does not impose too greatly on the mighty dwarves.
No, it's not me decision to make. You'll have to speak to the Sig, he says. And he indicates that you should follow him.
Yeah.
As you step through the gates, the very square nature of the dwarvish construction kicks in, and you realize that the cities are not built so much as a ring wall that encases the buildings, but the outer wall is actually the circumference of the entire city, and the city is then built out of that wall into this large central Colosseum-like structure that sits in the very center. But
so this is basically one of the sides is the wall. One of the sides of the houses is the wall.
Correct. So it's a circular structure, and the buildings jut out from that in an ever cascading level decrease down to the center, where there's this Colosseum-like structure. The dwarf takes you basically directly to that Colosseum, and as you pass through the various administrative buildings, he eventually shows you to one, and he says, "Our Seich's in there. He'll show you what to do." The city seems to be quite
and I would
busy.
before, if he would on our way, I would say to him like we are on special duty, and that it would be good that if he kept our arrival on the down low for now.
It's no business of mine. I don't speak about these sort of things to those that care, really. I do find it... are you having a conference down here?
We have many people who are very invested in meeting the Archon. Lots of new recruits meeting them for the first time, rubbing shoulders, shaking babies. You know how it is.
I think so.
Like I look at as puzzled as the dwarf. Anyway, good sir. What was your name? I didn't. I was in such a hurry that I forgot to ask.
It's not really important. It's Ben Lochaloon. But are you sure you don't want to stay in the compound with the others? There's plenty of accommodation. There might be already. Oh, how many are there now? Well, at least a dozen or so of you. There's plenty more space. The guest quarters will be a lot more comfortable than anything the Seg's going to offer you. They're not.
It's a surprise.
No,
it's quite all right.
As you see, Seg's through there, he says as he points.
Much obliged.
You head into this low office. Dwarvish architecture, especially this far south into the Dwarvish territories, does not accommodate those who stand higher than 6 foot. So there is a certain slouching that has to happen on your behalf, Mutaru, in order to be able to fit in. Even you, Blackston, find the ceiling particularly close. Yes.
Yeah.
Sitting behind a large brass desk, it's a block of bronze or brass, it looks like, with etchings and carvings of a great dwarvish battle on the front. Sitting behind it and smoking this rather fat pipe is a dwarf whose beard is braided in multiple different strands. He looks up at you. Ah, so you're... Wait, you're also part of the Order, hey?
Yes, indeed we are.
Well, this Archon fellow seems to be very important. Now, look here, I'm not going to complain, but there was booking made for 16 people, and all 16 are here already. With the Archon's arrival, that now makes it 24 by my reckoning, assuming there's 4 of you. Aye?
Leaning over
3.
to leaning over to Blackston, Mutaru says, while we might suspect the Order, perhaps getting the allegiance of this particular dwarf might actually prove quite beneficial.
I nod. I nod. Just to have, this is like a pious city. Like this is a city of like a spiritual center, basically. So this, again, me being as a player being a little bit unfamiliar with the setting, I want to ask, right? Arcbegar, the siege or siege or whatever, I don't know how you want to pronounce. Yes, siege. Is he a spiritual leader? Is he a political leader? Is he a military leader?
He is what Seich basically translates into commoner, and what his role is a lot of the religious sects within dwarvish culture forbids the priests from actually coming into physical contact with other dwarves. So they're not allowed to talk to them, they're not allowed to touch them, they're not allowed to be anywhere near them, they have to be secluded.
So he's the medium to kind of
He is the common between those that are unworthy and those that are worthy.
And
so he's an administrator.
Would I, as a pious person, generally speaking, be able to go to these priests without committing sacrilege?
Because you're not a dwarf, it would be seen as requiring a monumental amount of preparation and acceptance.
Okay, it would be like a little bit like on the strange part.
It would be definitely strange, but if someone like Mutaru Khan, for example, it would be complete heresy for them to come into contact with them.
All right. Anyway, and so I would still kind of pull out the necklace and show the sign. Like we came here for multiple reasons. One of which was that I am here on a pilgrimage. I want to pray on the shrines. We also have personal business with the Archon that is of the utmost importance, but we are not. We weren't. This wasn't planned. This is like an internal, an issue that is internal of the Astari internally. So we don't expect you to give us lodgings. Just information and goodwill is why we are here, to inform you to not kind of step on toes.
Oh, I thought you were with the Arcbegar. You're with the Histari. Oh, you want to stay with them then?
As I said, we are different orders and on different mission here. So the only thing that we really need from you is to inform us as soon as you have notice of when the Archon arrives, and if possible to give us that before he gets into the pleasantries and into the rituals that he needs to perform and to meet with the Arcbegar.
Well, it's not regulation for us to do it like that.
Well,
you are a man on a pilgrimage, and I understand there are certain priorities that need to take place. I don't see why not. I mean, If you meet him first, or if the other bunch meet him, I don't see any difference in it. It's all your affairs, really. So you don't want to join the Histari, then? They've got different quarters from the Arcbegar.
Are there some of our people here?
The Histari? Aye, there's 12 of them, to be sure.
Mm-hmm. And how many Arcbegar? Like, I was expecting more Arcbegar than Histari.
There are indeed. They're 18 in number. And then there's the Anchors, of course, but, well, they're a different bunch of people, aren't they? A lot more serious. They're actually not even staying in the city. They're staying just outside to the south. There's an old ruined structure down there. We don't normally go there, of course. But it's not very pleasant. But they're staying there for whatever reason.
And with that, okay, so in canon D&D, dwarves are a little bit greedy, a little bit like happy if they find gold, right? Is this applied here too, or is this would it be a
no?
Like
gold
if I give him
good.
like a thank you, if I give him a thank you, would this like insult his honor? Right? That's not.
Oh no, definitely not. Dwarves are quite happy to get treasures and riches. They're just in a period of mourning. They just can't appear happy.
Happy about it. All right. So with that, I kind of nod and say like, well, thank you for your services and for your understanding. We hope to get your message as soon as possible. And with that, I'll hand him 10 gold.
Oh, this is way more than we would charge for the accommodations. But I certainly appreciate the gesture. I'll show you to an area which I think, and he looks at you, Mutaru, might be big enough for you. We don't get many chung this way, this far west, you must understand.
It is quite all right. I'm not particular.
Aye. He gets up from his desk, takes a drag on his pipe, blows out this blue smoke, which seems to hold in the air a lot longer than smoke should, and then starts to lead you through the maze of block-like buildings until he gets to one which, when he opens the door, you can see is not in the best of condition. The furniture is okay, but there's nicks and cuts and scratches in the wood. The chairs are a little bit rickety. You can see there's some repair work. This is accommodation that we normally reserve for the Orcish delegations that occasionally come through here.
This is far than sufficient.
It is perfect.
I have one last question I would like to ask you. Now that we are, and I kind of rummage through the backpack a little bit and show him the helmet, and I say the priest of Brax might be interested in this artifact. I know that this is an unlikely question, but if it would be possible, I would like to show him this artifact and speak about the meaning of this.
Aye, well, for that, I'll make mention of it. You'll be looking for Kenner Thorig Teague. He's the local high priest of Brax. There is a bit of a communication problem, but if you're holding a relic of Brax, I can't see how they would not want to speak with you.
Thank you.
With that, before I go, if you go straight down the road, you'll find there's a wee market there. You'll be able to buy whatever it is that you wish. You don't have to worry about the local priests. They never go there. It's too busy for them. If you want your brethren, the Histari, if you go left at the door, you simply go along that for about half a mile. You'll see there's a large structure. It's got a great big green front on it. That's where the Histari are. The Arcbegar are in the building directly next to them, and of course the Anchors, like I said, they're in the south, outside of the city.
Yeah.
The Archon, he's scheduled to be in the structure directly above the green one that the Histari are in. Only he's not here. He should arrive perhaps tomorrow night or maybe the day after, depending on whether they travel throughout the night or not. All right. Well, if there's anything else you need, don't hesitate to give me a call. And with that, he bows and then heads out.
It appears we made it in some time.
How long have we got?
1.5 days.
Hmm.
If everything goes according to schedule, that is. So what's the plan? There are Arcbegar here, there are Hastari here, there are Anchor here, and we don't know whom we can trust.
Brilliant. Do we know what the Archon's movements are to be?
We do not. Well, more
But I
specifically, how is he going to get into the city? Do we reckon he will be coming by road, or is he going to be coming by sea?
I mean, he needs to go to land before he gets to us right? So, I mean, at least the last part will be on horse or foot or whatever it is. Palanquin.
They could be bringing a ship in.
How many roads lead into Arcbegar?
There's the primary road that comes from the north. That goes through the forest that you've just come through. Then there is a smaller road which comes out of the south, and that touches to the tip of the Drossamar Ocean, where there's a very small harbour, nothing major. As they mentioned, they do trade with the orcs who sail across the Great North Sea, risking attack from ice giants to get to the southern tip of Dwarvish territories.
So, probably not likely that they'd go into the forest with the whole cannibals and stuff like that.
Yeah, my guess is ship. Like they land the ship in the sea somewhere outside and then kind of take the part.
All I was thinking was that perhaps it might be worthwhile staking out the docks.
I want to stake out the place where he's going to speak with the people. I think that's much more likely the place of when they're going to attack him, right? Make like a V Vendetta move, like explode the whole building or some stuff like this.
That's possibly true, but we are more likely to interact with him first, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I tried to do, right? That was kind of my plan.
Well, yes, it was, and there's nothing to suggest that the Hastari or Relicar members who are already here haven't already thought of that themselves, and perhaps have people waiting to greet the Archon upon arrival.
Right. Still doesn't give us any idea on how we want to deal with our brothers and sisters.
What is the Archon here
Kill them all
do?
and let's Rowan sort them out.
What is the Archon here to do? Do we know?
He's had some. No, it wasn't on the letter that I got. Maybe we know from just because he's just like the big like if like your president goes somewhere, right? Maybe because we know because of that, but.
How well are we known in terms of the Hastari and the Octrelica? Like, would we be recognized if we were to wander around?
It really depends on whether the captains that are here.
Yes.
But
okay,
yes.
let me rephrase. How recognizable is Blackston and Khan?
You make a very good point that you are recognized.
Yes. So again, it depends on which captains are here. If it's captains who are experienced and old and they've been in service for a long time, they won't have ever met you. They'll have been in service whilst you were going through
if it's
college.
like academy, fresh blood, or something like this.
If it's youngsters, then yes, absolutely, they'll instantly recognise you.
I just look at Con. Maybe you can do some reconnaissance in a guise.
I was considering the same thing, yes, perhaps. But then the other problem is you're equally likely to be spotted by all the skilled individuals in the place.
Well, I don't think they would necessarily be mindful of a rat or a crow.
No.
Just settling down. Like I
Haven't
assume
quite mastered flight yet. It's coming. Working on it.
you haven't mastered flight. That's quite a surprise, I must admit.
I'm working on it.
Well,
The changes to bone structure are quite dramatic.
All right. Well,
Okay.
we need to use our time productively and make sure that we are ready for whatever happens. I believe that before we try any kind of reconnaissance and infiltration, well, not infiltration, but interaction with the orders, I liked your idea, Blackstone, of investigating the speaking area first and perhaps maybe just giving it a cursory look before we decide our next course of action.
What speaking area?
Where the
Archon will speak to the
Archon
troops.
will speak. Yeah.
What's he? That leads to my previous question of what's he here to do?
I mean, all three orders are here locally, so I assume he is.
Like somewhere he's gonna shake hands, kiss babies, all that sort of thing. Or kiss hands, shake babies,
I see, like an entrance visit, an arrival. I'll tell you what.
Are there any supplies we need?
A cursory glance around the space you've been allocated. There is some meat on the table. It's cured, and bread and cheese.
We could also get our pay for the last 3 weeks. But that would mean that we would interact with the order, which I don't know if you are ready for that yet. Again, going back to the...
Well, there'll be all sorts of questions like, where's our ship?
Where's our crew? Where's the
What of
other
our
captain?
captains?
Yeah.
Mutaru can tell tall tales. Taller than Mutaru.
Yes.
Mutaru tells tall tales.
No, I think perhaps it might be advantageous if I go and sneak into the Hastari and have a listen around.
Yes, and meanwhile, we'll take a look at the speaking area and get some supplies, something to eat, something to drink.
Because right now we have no information. So, yes, I think a scout out and maybe I can see what I can pick up.
So we'll meet back here in, let's say, at sundown.
Very good.
All right.
Good luck.
What are you turning into, Con?
Let's see. I guess I'm
Brown
going to-
bear.
Yeah. Hello. Don't mind me.
Just
What
sitting
were
on
you
the
saying?
pole for the flags on the outside, just like...
I'm going to turn into a mouse
Into a
Nice.
mouse. All right. Okay.
because
In that
if-
case, since it might be a little far away, I would then kind of offer him to take him a little bit.
Well, yeah, no, at an appropriate point.
At an appropriate point. All right.
yeah.
Good.
The mice
Okay.
are remarkable creatures for infiltration.
Yes.
So we're going to do a very quick skill challenge here as you move around the city, trying to basically get an idea of just what is going on.
Tom is
here.
waiting.
And all right. So from one of you, please, I would need a perception check.
Any volunteer?
And we need to have 4 successes before 3 failures.
I am not volunteering on that one just yet.
All right, I guess it'll be me then.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah.
fits.
You for sure will be better, and you're searching for something and listening inside, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, that depends on the dice, which has brought us a 17.
17 is a success. As you infiltrate the area where the Hastari are based, you quickly realize this is not an office or an agency of the Hastari. This is a bunch of captains who've come together and have rented out the space, resulting in this area becoming Hastari-like. Now, the critical thing here is that it's a mixed bag of captains. There seems to be an air of joviality. There's camaraderie happening. Every now and again, someone walks in and it's like, "Oh, look who it is, Captain Fellows. How long has it been since we last saw one another?" That is the general mood. Now, from either Mutaru or from Blackstone, I need a stealth check, please.
Well,
So
all right.
the question is, would I get disadvantage because of the... no, I actually wouldn't anyways. I can do it. I'm not great at it, but I'm sure I can try.
Are you wearing armor? Because if you are, then aren't you at disadvantage?
I mean, that's a question, depending on what
Not
you
for
want
the
to do.
skill
And
challenge.
Okay, so yeah.
Not for this
Then no.
one. Okay.
To answer your question. I also don't have armor that imposes penalties.
Sure, I'll try to sneak around. This will be really funny if I do. Kia! Alright, that is a 10.
10. 10 would be a failure. The two of you, the two of you are heading around trying to figure out just what's going on, and what you do determine is that the city has been tasked with hosting the Archon, and that he will be addressing members of the Order in the center of the Colosseum.
No,
That
great.
area, however, has been cordoned off because there is a stage being built and only certain members are allowed in. They
Right.
all seem to have an armband which indicates that they're allowed in or out, and it's difficult to determine if you could get one of those armbands. So that
Right.
leaves from Blackston, please, an investigate check.
Fail.
Just like that. Just like that. All right.
Pretty sure it's a fail.
Okay, so then from anybody, I need a persuasion check, please. You have 2 failures and 1 success. You need 3.
I'm actually very good with persuasion.
I
really
am
good.
also.
I am not.
I mean,
We're very
whatever. Like, if you
persuasive.
want, I just roll, so you roll, whatever.
Oh, okay, I'll roll this one. So that is.
I mean, I guess we have the
a
same modifier, yeah.
23.
That's a success. After
Fail.
To fail.
after speaking to several people, walking the streets, squeaking your way along the ducts and ledges of the various buildings within the Arcbegar, the Histari, and the city itself, you come to realize that the Arcbegar and the Histari have been brought here ostensibly by the same party. They all are saying, well, how did you get your invite here? Oh,
Okay.
your invitation came through. Your oracle got the message from. So that's the sort of the conversation. They're not putting
so since
anything
we know
together.
since we know some names of traitors, would we be able to kind of? I mean, I guess Con knows about this too because I showed the letter around, right?
Right.
So the deacons were Vada, which was our deacon,
Correct.
Ulians and Croft,
Correct.
and then we had the High Oracle, Grafla Tayag.
Correct.
Um,
So that is a name that the three of you pick up, Gravla Tajak. In different groups, they sort of mention, oh, well, no, we got the message from Tajak. She communicated with our Arcbegar. Or Deacon Ulians has organised this, hasn't he? I thought it was Ulians who got this whole thing together. Damn good idea, I say. We've been very quiet
Okay.
in recent. That sort of thing happens. All right, 2 successes, 2 failures. 1 success will put you closer to victory. 1 failure will end this investigation rather dismally.
match ball, yeah, got it.
So that means from either Con or from Simon, I need a religion check.
I'm good with religion.
You go.
All right. How about a 15?
How about a success?
I like that. So, Con, no pressure.
All right. No pressure. And I'm going to give you advantage on this one because it's another stealth check, as you need to infiltrate the deepest part of the sanctum.
Oh, dice be kind. Oh,
Sound good?
That's a good thing. That's an advantage roll. So that is 20.
20. All right.
Nice.
As you are making your way back, the day has been long, and from what you can gather, the Archon came here to investigate the anchor that is nearby, and he's doing a tour of this anchor. The Ulantur anchor, as a matter of fact, and the opportunity was taken to get him to address several of the members of the different orders to bring about a sense of camaraderie and to build
I'm sure.
bonds. There are 3 names that crop up: Croft, Varda, and Ulians. And the reason why they crop up is because they are here in the city.
All 3 deacons.
All 3 deacons are here in the city.
Squeak, squeak, squeak.
Squeak!
You get this information from 3 different sources. None of them are aware that all 3 deacons are here. Each one of them is, oh, no, I saw Deacon Varda. He's way off territory, but I suppose anyone can attend these sort of things. Another group has seen Ulians and another group has seen Croft.
Damn.
All right, Fievel, good job.
What none of them can explain is why the Order of the Anchors are so far to the south in the ruins. They're supposed to be coming up tomorrow to meet with everybody, but why they chose to be so far out that way, nobody knows. It seems damned odd.
Do we get the
here.
information on how the Archon is supposed to arrive? Like on horse, on ship?
The Archon Ulantur anchor, as a matter of fact, is just south of Morigli. So he's going to take a ship from supposedly Ulantur, the Ulantur anchor, across the bay to Arcbegar and arrive at the little docks. Rumour has it it's going to be tomorrow evening, but people are sceptical. The weather doesn't look to be too good, so the ship probably won't sail on time.
Okay.
The 3 of you managed to get back together into your small orcish apartment.
Where I divulge everything I have ever heard.
Ever
Ever heard.
Overheard.
2 days.
Overheard, all right.
Over. We haven't got that long.
What's the plan?
So now I'm starting to wonder if that's not
It's a trap!
Well, yes, exactly. But are we, as you say, are we looking? Do you think that their target is not just the Archon, but perhaps all these captains as well?
Yes, I would agree. Maybe the anchors I wouldn't trust because they're missing from the city.
Well, these are curious times. Interesting they choose not to come into the city. Is it because they can't be trusted, or is it because they know something?
I think my guess is there's something going to happen in the city that's going to affect a large part of the city, and everybody that is in the city will not have necessarily a very pleasant urban experience.
This is the assumption, yes, some sort of large-scale weapon they will have to devise to take out that many people in one go. Explosives or something.
Mutaru stops and says, when dragons are involved, I can assure you there is that much firepower.
Well, it won't be a dragon doing it, surely.
We want to meet with the Arcrelica anyway, because of reasons we spoke about yesterday.
Yes.
We need to find someone we can trust, and the Archon is Arcrelica, right?
Sorry. Maybe I'm just being a silly cow, but why aren't we evacuating everyone?
Because we don't want to set off our enemies. Surprise is our biggest advantage. If we evacuate,
yes, but what is more important? Having the 3 of us try and capture whoever started this, putting 2 entire orders at risk.
Mutaru, as usual, you're missing the bigger picture. If we show our hand now, the 3 deacons realize that we are onto them. They will just repeat this somewhere else. Or even worse, they just set it off right now.
Worse than that, 3 rookie captains' word versus theirs. In the moment, will be dismissed, laughed off. Yes, we might derail their plan. Or will we?
Mutaru sort of steps forward and he says, "You're right. I don't see the big picture. That's never been my strong suit." And he holds up the hilt of a silver blade and he says, "I see a small picture. Just one. One where those who stood and fight with me don't die. And I do everything to protect that.
Then we should try to join forces with the Archon, of whom we know is suspectful.
Agreed.
And on that note, we will catch up with you again next week when the Adventures of the Windswift continues. Now, for those of you that don't know, we always do a review after the show, and well, there's quite a lot to talk about in today's show. All sorts of things went on, and crazy things happened. So stay with us as we go into review, but if not, thank you for watching and happy playing. All right, into the review.
Where's so?
Oh yeah, what the hell?
Well, Dice of Destiny will tell us that Dice of Destiny just keeps rolling that one, doesn't it? So this was a very interesting session from my perspective. I had to wrap up the exit of one of the players, and to do so in trying to resolve stories that Freddie had been working on for quite some time, which I think it played out in a certain way. Certainly it was a lot more dramatic than I had thought it was going to be. No one can ever anticipate the actions of a Chung, is what I'm going to take away from this episode. And no matter how dire you describe the situation...
Hashtag Chung logic.
Yes. But I think in the end it worked itself out, and I hope that if Freddie gets to watch the show that he'll be happy with that sort of conclusion. Or is it a conclusion? Who knows? You'll have to carry on watching.
It's a conclusion for his body, at least temporarily.
Yes, but what is this crude
incinerated
matter that we are made up of? Anyway, and we've now moved, of course, into the city of Arcbegar, where we hopefully are starting to get to a point where we might see the end or the beginning, or I don't know what it is that we're...
Of the other captains.
Yes. So, Mutaru, what did you think? What talk to us about this episode?
Yeah, again, as you say, lots to unpack. I was very happy with today's episode. Lots of really exciting stuff, which, I mean, as many of the fans know, I have been very, very much itching for it. And I think, yes, that did kind of play into that. But one thing I want to talk about is how I sort of get into character. Now, some people sort of look at the scenario. They look at it and go, okay, well, look, we're one player sort of walked away from the table, and we are going to have to write out the character. And some people would look at that and sort of say, here's the scenario, this is how he's going, this is the swan song, and sort of move on. I, however, never do that. I'm notorious for this, but if my character is the sort of person to literally put life and limb to save his friends, even if the logic behind it is you cannot save him. There is no way. The player is gone. This is not going to happen. It won't stop me from trying with the same kind of gusto and vigor that I would use had that player still been around. And it's a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing because obviously it means that, I try and put aside any kind of meta knowledge that I have. It's kind of a bad thing because at the same time it causes a ton of kind of conflicts, problems, dramas, things like that. But in the end, I think what happened with the whole thing with Freddie and stuff like that was just such a dramatic and touching and fulfilling moment, I think, for everyone. Honestly, if I were to go back and do it again, I'd do everything exactly the same. It was an awesome event. It was an awesome thing. And I love the fact that I've got a memento of it to be able to sort of draw back and sort of remember this particular game for a long time. And just touching briefly on obviously we have now reached Arcbegar, and we have now found out, oh no, guess what? Everything might be on fire. Mutaru at that point is basically just, oh, is it? Good. That's wonderful.
This is fine.
Because as I've mentioned previously, Mutaru's faith in the orders up until literally this adventure has been unshaken. So Mutaru is at a point where he is just gotten to the point he doesn't understand. His whole world has been kind of pulled apart, and he's just trying to take a grip on it. And obviously looking at the power of a dragon, not even a power of a dragon, the power of a draconic artifact, I think that has also drastically changed Mutaru, because before it was all stories, it was glory, fighting a dragon. This sounds amazing. And now it's kind of like when you feel that kind of force where, you sort of put like the tiniest pinky finger into this pool of power to be flung back and have your mind just cascading with this raw force, really put some stuff into perspective.
Would you say that the stake is now on the fire?
Oh, the stakes have never been higher, my friend.
All right, so Blackston went from cursing the Chung for charging into a no-win situation to charging into a no-win situation.
Yes, indeed. Okay, so from the character standpoint, let's first go to that. Yeah, I mean, he swore an oath, and he is a man of his word, so there was no, he didn't want to go in. I hope I kind of try to hit on that a little bit with the timidness and unsureness to kind of approach this first on, but this is his duty. This is his goal. Right? This is not his own personal kind of opinion and his own value. This is what he is about. This is his one thing. And if he kind of turns tail and runs from that, what worth is he? Brax is about kind of facing the evil head on, and doing deeds that are courageous. And maybe not, that doesn't necessarily need to be always done, because you're not your god, you're just a dude, right? But if this is the one thing that you swore what to do, and then kind of turn, this is basically breaking your oath, right? And I mean, there's an entire subclass for that in my class that I have, so that didn't stand to any debate. Since this was obviously in a situation where at least the kind of Centaurs ran away, this to me felt more narrative than necessarily a game obstacle to overcome, and that's how I approached it, in kind of a role-playing kind of way, which I thought was a cool vision in the head, which also kind of culminated to the thing that was set up 5-6 sessions ago, which both of us basically swearing our souls to each respective power. So that put a bow on that a little bit, as much as we could, due to not really naturally being able to naturally kind of move towards it. Yeah, and other than that, after that, going to Arcbegar and hopefully figuring this out and getting into a good end. And I think I have a pretty good idea about what's happening here, but I might be completely wrong, so who knows. Who knows. Now a little bit on the meta area, and I think everybody of us here is a dungeon master and obviously has different opinions on things. And one thing that I will admit, I think I would have completely handled differently, and I'm getting a little bit worried about how this is maybe something that the players can, or the viewers can maybe discuss in the comments below. Is this felt a little bit of plot armor to me. In my case, certainly. In Mutaru's case, even more so, because he was literally jumping in the midst of a mosh pit, if you will, right? Almost literal mosh pit. And that is something that concerns me a little bit, because I think there needs to be stakes for so if you take a risk, it's meaningful. But that's personally me. Again, I'm not trying to say this is wrong. Generally speaking, it depends on what you're going for.
Absolutely. Con, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we've got our pride handed back to us on plates, basically, in that, which is good. I think Con really is starting to feel happier now that we've all made it to Arcbegar, because finally we're on the front foot.
For the first time.
For the first time in this adventure, we're ahead of schedule. We know something about something. We have names. We know what's going to happen. We know something's going to happen. And we have time in which to try and prepare something. So for once, things are not just happening to us.
We can act, not react.
Yeah. Right. It's been, if you were to string the whole sequence of events together like editing in a film, it would be one non-stop action sequence for pretty much with a few breathers and talks around the campfire in between. But the events of this adventure have been action, ship battle, ship blows up, ship crash, action. So yeah, and in all of that stage, we'd very much been reacting. Now finally we're sort of caught up with things a bit, and yes, so Con is starting to feel like we're getting somewhere.
Right.
Hope.
So and your thoughts on narrative plot armor?
Narrative plot armor. I'm not entirely sure it's a problem under the right context. Personally, it kind of depends on how much it shows. And I think, as again, context is everything. So in our specific example, you had some plausible avenues via Grimm's Dark Pact.
Right.
That you didn't have to save us through some convoluted Deus Ex move. We were dying, we were going to get killed, and then Grimm's demon thing happened. So for me, I'm not too bothered by that kind of thing. I mean, like, if you had parachuted in like a group of dwarvish rangers, then that would have annoyed me.
Yeah, nobody likes dwarvish parachute.
So yeah, I guess that's about as much as I can say on that.
A Chung Stampede, on the other hand,
equally out of place given the geography.
Right.
Right. So yeah.
I think it's a tough question, and I absolutely hear what you're saying, Simon. If one takes away the agency of death, then one can become very reckless. The challenge, and in this particular case was a very real challenge, was that there was a potential for the entire party to get annihilated.
And just to make sure, I wouldn't be I would be sad about it, but I wouldn't be upset. I've been playing this game for so long. I've lost so many characters, right? This is like part of the deal for me. So
yes, absolutely. I think that something that I'm very cognizant of here is that would be a horrifically it might be a technically satisfying conclusion, but I think that from a narrative perspective, we've invested so much time in trying to unravel this story. But then maybe I'm too focused on seeing the story get to a conclusion. That is a blinding factor too. So yes, I think it's definitely a point that needs to be raised, and I think players and GMs alike need to sit back and think about it and go, all right, well, what sort of campaign are we in? And I think that if you set the tone at the beginning, where if you make a rash decision or you make a judgment call that could quite possibly be fatal, is it going to be fatal, or is it going to be Hollywooded to a point where it gets you out of that situation?
Right.
But,
and I think that is in the core of the thing, and both ways are absolutely fine. Like, I want this to make for the viewers particularly clear. Both versions, like, as long as you're having fun, you're not doing anything wrong.
Correct.
Right. The only thing that needs to be done is spoken about these things when they come up, or preferably before the game actually even starts, so everybody is on the same page.
Right. No, absolutely. And that goes for things like encumbrance, ammunition count, components, all those kind of things, I think, can add to a game. They can make a game really, really, really interesting. But as you say, it is how you play. Michael, just very quickly before we sign off.
Oh yeah. I was going to say the one thing I've always found interesting about the whole GM Fiat thing is what you really want to avoid, especially when you do decide that is one of the avenues you want to explore, is you want to make sure that your players don't become, I suppose, jaded by the idea that they won't die and that become the expectation. So I want it just to make it very, very clear, and Guy knows this very well. Mutaru takes no action that he is not prepared to die over. Like the final stance with the circle of the centaurs and stuff like that, I, the player, am prepared for that character to die. Like that moment there. It's for me just as much as me playing in a narrative sense. Like narratively, what would I do? Narratively, what would I do here, there, or whatever? If you start playing to a point where you're like, I won't die, I'll just do this really cocky thing that's just going to undermine the GM or tease them or make a mockery of the narrative, that's a really negative way to play. And as a GM, you want to always be watching out for that, because that's just not fun. That's not enjoyable.
There we go, and we can debate this even further still. But in order to keep things short and sweet, let's take the conversation into the comments below. Leave your thoughts on the whole process. It will be interesting to see what you think about that, whether the party should die or live based on decisions made in the spur of the moment. Who knows? Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for staying with us on this review. Catch us again next week when we return with more adventures of the Windswift. Until then, goodbye.